Hello and welcome to another edition of Superhero Movie Review Time. I'm your host Grant Liston. This week's episode is X-Men 3 The Last Stand. And compared to the second film, X-Men United, this did not live up to expectations. There were so many problems before they even started filming. They lost Bryan Singer, who wanted to do the Superman movie and got fired by Fox. Alan Cumming, who played Nightcrawler, turned around and said that the costume was too much and that he didn't really like playing Nightcrawler, and he's got better things to do. You, sir, went on to do the fucking Son of the Mask. Fuck you! How can you leave the X-Men franchise for the Son of the Mask? Shame on you. I mean, my God, that was fucking awful. So, the film starts 20 years ago, and we get oh, Jesus Christ, that's a CGI Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. Oh, well, they've gone to visit a very young Jean Grey. I can only assume it means that she survived from the last film. Okay, let's see how that plays out. Jean Grey then basically shows that she's got an arrogant side that her adult self doesn't have. And so she starts to levitate cars and, oh look, a Stan Lee cameo. Huh. She then drops all the cars and instantly Magneto's like, well, I like this one. This one's entertaining. This one's actually got some promise, some aggression. And Charles can sense that she's going to be trouble, but he's willing to help any student he can. We now fast forward 10 years later, and we've got a young boy who's got a selection of knives, and he's carving at his back. And it turns out this character's Angel, and you think, okay, new character, Angel. A lot of promise. He can deliver on some aspects. He's got some personality. He's a good fighter and a bit of a playboy sort of character. It'd be a lot of fun to invest in the character and give us some more input. Of course, well, this basically takes the Cyclops route of character building. Not impressed. The young lad in question actually gives a very good performance. The 30 seconds he's on screen, he gives a real heart-wrenching, like, panicky, I need to hide this secret from my father. The father finds out, and I think he's more distressed than the kid is that his son's a mutant. So now we get the opening credits, and we now progress to the not too distant future again, and it's almost like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. You see Storm flying around, you've got Colossus teaming up with Rogue, Iceman zipping around, and oh hey, they've got Shadowcat too. Blimey, they've added in two characters straight off the bat. Fantastic stuff. So, and then we get Wolverine looking pretty bored and uninterested, and you think that's pretty suspicious for the circumstances. He then teams up with Colossus. Colossus launches him straight up in the air, and Wolverine then takes off what appears to be a Sentinel's head, and you're like, what there's a Sentinel in this film? And it turns out it's a Danger Room session. A part of me feels that, oh, that's a bit of a cheapskate, like a bit of a letdown moment, but another part of me thinks, we've not had a Danger Room session yet in the X-Men universe, so that was pretty damn cool, actually. They finally added in quite an important moment. And Storm and Wolverine almost talk like it's a science lesson or even like a PE lesson, and they're just like, if you've got a problem, talk to Scott. I'm just a substitute teacher. Just fantastic. So it runs like a real school. The film now introduces us to a third character, and holy crap, it's Kelsey Grammer as Beast. What an amazing casting decision. This guy is brilliant. I grew up watching Frasier a lot, and the way he talks, the way he acts, and his speaking voice is so crystal clear and professional, and you can't think of a better person to play Beast, and this is just a brilliant casting decision. So, Beast is working for the government. He works very closely with the president, who has aged either considerably a lot, or when the president had the next general election, was replaced by someone a lot older, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Anyway, Beast works as a public relations guy. He works with mutants and humans, and they tell him that they've captured Mystique. They don't ever show us or tell us how they caught Mystique, but you can imagine it was pretty cool. And they caught her in the act of stealing some documents. The documents in question were of a young mutant called Jimmy, aka Leech. Leech's power is that he suppresses the mutant gene. The president has basically taken his DNA and formed it to make what they're calling the cure. To cure any mutant of their, what they're calling an ailment. Of course, you can imagine some mutants would be like, oh, I can get rid of my powers and be normal. And others are like, I'm special for a reason. Very conflicting stuff, and of course Beast is caught right in the middle of this one. Hank McCoy then goes back to the X Mansion and he meets up with Storm and Professor X, and they have this great moment where they explain Storm's hairstyles throughout all of the films, how it changes from 1, then 2, then 3, and it's just, I love what you've done with your hair, you too. Brilliant moment, bit of a cheap shot, but I love it. And then he meets up with Wolverine, and they have basically a dick measuring contest throughout the entire film, and it's nice to see that not everyone gets along, but they don't have to fight either. It's almost like just a professional dislike, in a sense. I quite like that. The film now takes us to a church where you get several mutants all crammed inside, and they're discussing the possibility of the cure. No one there seems to be in favour of the cure, so they're deciding what to do. What's the best possible outcome where it becomes non-violent? And they're talking to the right people and the right procedures when the man in charge is interrupted by Magneto and his latest acquisition, Pyro. And Magneto pulls no punches here. He just gives it all. He brings out the best speeches he can possibly muster. Like, when the night is still and the air is cold, they come for you. Just like, God. Every time, it just gets me. I love Magneto. I love Sir Ian McKellen. The guy is amazing. And he basically plants the idea into people's heads that the cure will be forced upon them and that they haven't got a choice in the matter. And if they want to stand up and fight, they should join him. So he basically starts a recruitment drive and brings in quite a lot of characters to his ever-expanding brotherhood. The film now shoehorns in a pretty shit and boring class system. There's mutants that are basically level 1, and I'd assume that would be the character who can blink and change the television channel, versus characters that could be level 5, and you'd imagine level 5 being, Wolverine style. And so it just, I can see where they were coming from with a class system, but they've put it in on the final film, and now there's a real separation between the mutants. Why can't they just be trained and untrained? Magneto spent decades crafting his powers versus, Wolverine, who's just been let loose as an animal. One of Magneto's new disciples has got enhanced speed, but she also has a second power. Now, apart from, say, Apocalypse, there isn't many characters in this universe that have got more than one power. And yet, this, I suppose, Class 2 character has got 2 powers, super speed and tracking down other mutants. And you think, oh, fuck off a minute. Bollocks. Just absolute bollocks. Why do those 2 things add up? It's like being able to control someone's mind and also having the ability to shoot a water fountain out of your finger. They're just completely separate powers. Why are they linked? So Magneto then goes on a mission to save Mystique. Mystique is on a convoy with 2 other highly dangerous prisoners. All of them mutants. Magneto then pulls out one of his best moments yet. I mean, the plastic prison cell was amazing, but this one on par, I'd say. He then starts crunching up cars like they're crisp packets, tossing them aside. He then takes out the front of the cab of the lorry skids to a halt in front of him, and he just walks around absolutely uninterested. This is a 9 to 5 for him, and it's so much fun to watch. He then starts releasing the prisoners, and first up is James Madrox, who is the Multiple Man. And you're thinking, okay, this guy's pretty impressive, like several different villains. I can just imagine Wolverine and Cyclops back to back battling like a ring of these multiple men. Like, don't know who's the real one, but yet they're still taking out so many enemies. It'd be a pretty cool action sequence, in my opinion. Now we get a very interesting character, in my opinion, the Juggernaut. Not exactly a fan favourite, but definitely a favourite for some, and he's played by Vinnie Jones? Okay, so yeah, Vinnie Jones comes out the bat with, quite a good, funny joke of, you gotta let me out of here, I need to pee, and, he does come across as pretty brain dead, really, so we'll see how this character develops as well. While the villains are having their meeting and their social talk, one of the guards manages to load up his weapon and shoots Mystique, and Mystique has been hit by the cure, and all of a sudden you just think, have they just written Mystique out of these films? She's been an iconic moment in the last 2 movies, and she's barely lasted the first hour in this film. And you just... What? Okay, so they just offed Mystique, or didn't kill her, but they've just killed off the character Mystique and replaced her with her human self. That's pretty fucking shit. After all that she's been through, she gets that as an ending. And Magneto treats her pretty much no respects and is just like, you're not one of us anymore, and leaves. And that was the best part for me. Magneto not breaking his stride. We're here to save mutants, you're now human. That was brilliant. But the fact that they had to sacrifice Mystique for that, that's pretty fucking shit for me. The film now takes us to Cyclops. Okay. We've had 2 movies to try and get him right. We're now on the third one, the third and final one of the trilogy. New director as well, new title in The Last Stand. Give us something we can sink our teeth into. Give Cyclops a badass attitude. Give him a reckless, I don't care anymore attitude. Give us something we can really get behind. So naturally, first thing we see is Cyclops crying. So he gets on his motorcycle and heads down to Alkali Lake, and then he starts hearing voices and seeing visions of Jean drowning. To bore the visions out of his mind, he rips open his visor and starts shooting into the ocean. The ocean then sends back a concussive wave, and suddenly there's a bright light, and Cyclops can't really see what's going on. And it turns out Jean is now alive and standing in front of him. My first thought would be zombie apocalypse. Kill it with fire now! But, of course, he then gets up and thinks, Jean, you're alive! And he sticks his tongue down her throat, and then his face starts getting all wobbly, and then that's it. No more Cyclops. He's gone. That is the last time you see Cyclops in these movies. Wow. After all that, you just decided to kill Cyclops off. Moving on. Upon Cyclops' death, Professor X and the rest of the mutants start to feel a disturbance in the Force, I guess, and he sends Logan and Storm over to Alkali Lake to investigate. Storm clears the fog away and they see several small items like rocks and pebbles being floated around. Wolverine picks up Cyclops' glasses and realises this cannot be good, and the pair of them discover Jean laying unconscious on the beach. The film takes a quick break away from that main story to give us Angel again. I'm like, okay, it was an impressive opening scene, so let's see how this character can progress. And quite simply, the Angel character walks into the room to get the cure on his father's insistence. He straps himself up to the table and he goes, I don't want the cure. Dad says, you want the cure. I don't want the cure. Dad says, you do want the cure. He then struggles out of restraints, unfurls his wings and jumps out the window. Absolutely no character development, no emotional attachment to this character already. It's like they killed off Cyclops to give us yet another pointless character for filler. Admittedly, yes, they got the wings very, very majestic, and him flying out the window was pretty cool. Visually, watching a man soar across the sky with a pair of wings is pretty cool. Yet, I just don't care, at all. Thankfully, the film brings us back to the X-Mansion, where Jean is laying unconscious on the medical table, and they're all discussing her childhood, and that during the Danger Room sessions, there was a split personality disorder almost, where Jean's character would describe herself as the Phoenix, and Professor X tried so hard to keep this demon, if you will, from ever come up to the surface, trying to restrain this evil, if you will. Jean finally comes to and starts to seduce Logan. Now, this bit kind of irked me as well, because when they're making out on the table, she then scratches right into his arm, exposing the adamantium bone underneath. Wolverine flinches, but then gets stuck right back in there. But as soon as her eyes glow, that is it. He's like, bitch, I'm done. I am done. I am gone. Get yourself a cab. I'll see you next time. I mean, really, Wolverine, glowing eyes? That's where you stop? So Jean then kicks Wolverine away and then disintegrates the door and ups and fucks off out of there. They track her down to her childhood home where, well, that's the first place she'd look, surely. The place she wanted to escape from as a child. So outside the house, the X-Men bump into Magneto's Brotherhood. And Magneto and Charles go in first, leaving Wolverine and Storm outside with Juggernaut and a few others. Charles and Magneto have this great, almost like a married couple syndrome, where Charles is trying to be like, please come with me, and Magneto's like, no, don't go with him, he's a dick. It's like a really nice back and forth between the two. Jean then starts to lose control of her powers and then gets locked into a battle of minds with Professor X. Wolverine then goes, that's it, I'm going in, and starts going toe to toe with the Juggernaut. Side note, Juggernaut. His one and only task, the one thing Magneto said to him before he went inside. Nobody goes in the house. What's the first thing Juggernaut does? He throws Wolverine in the fucking house! Dick flap. Anyway, so Wolverine and Juggernaut go back and forth, and Storm takes on the bird who can run around really fast. And it's back and forth between the two fights, and then back to Xavier and the Phoenix having the mind battle. Jean then wins the battle and kills Professor X. Just kills him. Disintegrates him. Absolutely obliterates the guy. And you're like, really? So just to recap. Killed off Cyclops. They took away Mystique's powers, and now they just killed Professor X. I'm starting to see why people really hated this movie. So Magneto takes Jean Grey away, leaving Wolverine and Storm to grieve. They have this funeral scene, and once again, another side note, Iceman, definitely playing with fire. I understand that you want to be there for one of your friends in Kitty Pryde, and, she's very, very distraught over Xavier's death. But don't take her to a romantic setting and start ice skating with her when your girlfriend's just round the corner, you dozy bastard. I mean, fucking hell, think this through, man. Come on. So after the funeral, Wolverine gears up to go track down Magneto and Jean, and oh look, Angel turns up and asks can he have a room for the night. That's 2 out of the 3 scenes he gets, by the way. Yeah, a lot of character planning went through that one, didn't it? So Wolverine jumps on a motorcycle and then tracks down the Brotherhood into the forest. This is a pretty cool scene where Wolverine goes commando and then just, starts taking out Brotherhood members left, right and centre. Wolverine gets into a pretty cool one-on-one with a guy who can, form branches out of his arm and throw them like daggers. Pretty cool. And Wolverine successfully defeats his enemies. He then tracks down the main group of them, listens to Magneto's war speech. He then follows Jean into the forest, and Magneto seizes him, holds him up by his adamantium skeleton, and then launches him 100 yards into the forest, bouncing off every fucking tree in the process. The film then does quite a very sharp, quick cut to the President and the planning room. And it turns out that they've also discovered where Magneto's base is because Mystique has betrayed them. And it kind of makes me think, yeah, did Mystique just walk into the Pentagon and say, yeah, I'll give you Magneto, and they gave her freedom after all the people she's killed, all the law she's broken? Like, fuck, come on. So yeah, the SWAT teams surround the base, and then they go to move in, and it turns out all the little lights indicating people at the camp end up being just the Multiple Man, who then folds back into himself and says, haha, you got me. Really? What a fucking waste of a character. I mean, this guy robbed 7 banks at the same time. He was his own, gun control, getaway driver, vault cracker for 7 different banks at the same time, and the best thing they can do with him in this film is play decoy and dummy. I would love to see how that went down. I've recruited you to my team. You're going to be a valuable asset. What do you want me to do? Surrender and die. Yeah, sure, boss, I've got that. Nah, they did not think that one through, did they? Several years after this film came out, I was actually in San Francisco and stood on the Golden Gate Bridge, and I tried to reenact what Magneto did and got so many dirty looks. It was brilliant. But when he just rips the bridge off its hinges and takes it over to Alcatraz, and you're just like, this is awesome. It's almost like Alton Towers music in the background as well, and I'm sitting there absolutely loving it. As bad as this film has been, Magneto has made it for me. Just incredible. So Magneto sends his army in to take down the lab and to kill the young mutant who's got the cure. For some reason, Magneto is very, very confused of why they've got plastic weapons. Honestly, he even says the words, they've learned. They put him in a plastic prison. I can see his confusion because they had 3 of the most dangerous mutants in the world in a metal convoy. So I can forgive Magneto for that lapse of judgment right there. But, unfortunately, it seems that whoever takes over these X-Men films can't resist going back in time, because this is Brett Ratner's first superhero movie that I know of, and he went very, very 90s with this moment right here. When the X-Men do arrive to save the day, their entrances are so so 90s. You can basically hear the banana music playing in the background because it's just, oh, it's so cringy. Apart from Storm, hers one makes sense. She flies in and shoots electricity at them, and like it backs them all off into a retreated line, and she's holding them all at bay. And then like Beast comes literally flying in, and it's just like he whooshes in. Colossus then comes down with a massive thud. Okay, it was pretty funny to see Shadowcat and Iceman fall through the floor and come back up again, but that was a perfect moment to introduce Iceman doing the ice slide, and they didn't take advantage of it. And then, of course, we've got probably the most silliest thing I've seen is Wolverine with his claws sliding down the building, and you just think, oh, go Power Rangers, and oh, it's so 90s, oh. But you know what? What happens next is actually pretty cool and makes up for it for a little bit, because the actual action scene here is pretty cool. Although, of all the X-Men they had, the six they had, any one of them to take on the Juggernaut as he charges into the building, I would love to see him go toe-to-toe with Colossus. Two absolute heavyweights slugging it out, trying to protect this kid would have been pretty bitching. But they decided to go with Shadowcat. And okay, yeah, it was pretty cool. She, grabs his leg and pulls him under and then runs off. And he's like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! And, okay, yeah, they got a laugh, yeah. It was kind of like a child's way of getting around it, going through the walls. She flies through, he smashes through. She saves the kid by moving him out of the way at just the last second, and he knocks himself out. Yeah, it was pretty lame for me, pretty flimsy. But we move back into the action. Oh, Angel scene number 3. Oh, this is great because a couple of the Brotherhood mutants break into the lab, and instead of going for the cure, they find the guy who commissioned the cure, and they take him up to the roof and they throw him off. And this guy just happens to be Angel's dad, and I shit you not, everybody in that cinema when I watched this went, yeah, they're going from off the roof, and here comes Angel! Yep, that was pretty much everyone's reaction. Just, they watched it and was like, yeah, we knew it was coming, not really that shocked. Probably would have liked seeing the guy actually fall to his death, may have been a bit more entertaining. Yet, I was still in hope of Angel then putting his dad down, jumping back into the fight and continuing, but this is actually the last time you see Angel in this movie, apart from a small, brief second towards the end. Why were you in this film, Angel? I mean, really, what purpose did you actually have? If you'd remove the Angel aspect of this film stays exactly the same. So with Magneto sensing that the battle's not going his way, he and Pyro then decide to weigh in themselves. Wolverine then looks at Iceman and says, do you reckon you can take him on? And here we go, we've got Pyro versus Iceman. Pretty damn anticipated match this should be. Okay, it was visually great, but I wanted to see like a couple of gunslingers like throwing ice shards versus a flamethrower, like a bit of back and forth, ducking behind cover, maybe even a bit of a fist fight going on. But what we got wasn't too bad either, with both of them firing jets at each other and who can hold it more. So Pyro then starts to get the better hand of it, and yeah, it was a bit lame how this ended, but it was also visually very nice to see, where Bobby Iceman turns into the ice sculpture, freezes Pyro's hand and headbutts him. Yeah, pretty badass, but also pretty lame at the same time. So Storm, Beast and Wolverine decide to formulate a plan to take down Magneto once and for all. And I do genuinely believe that Brett Ratner has some sort of bowling fetish. Not only does Colossus throw Wolverine like a bowling ball, Wolverine even says, make it a strike. And previously, Juggernaut crashing through all the guards was the sound of pins being knocked down by a bowling ball. Kind of off-putting, actually, with all these bowling references. So anyway, Colossus throws Wolverine at Magneto. Magneto stops him very easily with a, you never learn, do you? And out of nowhere, Beast jumps into Scream with 3 syringes of the cure and stabs Magneto in the chest. And now I'm pissed off. They just took away Magneto's power? Fuck you, movie. Fuck you. Of all the things you've done, and bear in mind, starting off with these films, I loved Cyclops. towards the end, my favourite's got to be Magneto. And then you took away his goddamn fucking power! So with the war basically done, Jean Grey steps up, loses her mind, and then basically starts disintegrating everything in sight. Wolverine tells Storm to get everyone out of there, he's the only one who can take her down. He then walks up these rather convenient steps that Jean has made, up to almost her throne, and of course Wolverine has to be shirtless for this moment. It was actually in Hugh Jackman's contract, must be shirtless. Reasons. They have almost like a tenderish Hollywood moment, please help me, Wolverine, I love you, stabs her. Because that's what you do to the people you love, you kill them without mercy. So yeah, now the film starts to peter out into its ending. Storm's in charge of the school, Beast goes back into politics, Rogue got the cure, if you remember that character. All that issue they had in the first film of saving Rogue, gone now because Brett Ratner went, what the fuck do I do with this character? Just give her the fucking cure. And yeah, Wolverine ends up being the Lone Ranger guy again. The film tries to end on a bit of a cliffhanger with Magneto moving the chess piece a little bit, and it goes straight into the end credits. And of course there is actually the first time there's ever been a X-Men after credits scene with Charles Xavier putting his conscious mind into a brain-dead patient mere hours after telling all his students that mutants shouldn't play God. Yeah. Anyway, that was X-Men The Last Stand. I'm actually physically exhausted after reviewing this film. It was that painful. However, the action scenes were fun. The characters they brought in really didn't leave much of a mark. Apart from Shadowcat, Ellen Page actually did very well with her limited role. Vinnie Jones, yeah, okay. You remember moments of the Juggernaut, but let's not get carried away here. It was there for the comic relief more than anything. So, after all that, I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 10. A pretty poor showing.
Thank you all so much for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe and leave a dirty comment. Love all those. And I'll see you all next time for X-Men The First Class. Take care now.